This is great news for Texans fans as a new report gives a new update on Joe Mixon's status for the 2025 NFL season, as well as we give you some breakdown on what Jeremy Fowler and some NFL executives are saying about the running back heading into his second year with the Houston Texans. All that and more right here on Texans Digest. And you're probably wondering, what in the world happened to Mike? Why does he look so different? Is he sick? Did he drink a potion and he can't get back? There's no worries. Mike is still here. He is still on the program. I am just the new addition to Texans Digest. My name is Donovan Ricondo. I am your other host, your co-host for this channel. It's great to be here. Great to talk football. Great to talk about Texans. And if you want to stay up to date on all of your Texans news, this is the channel for you. Hit that subscribe button below and stay tuned into news such as this one right here, as a new report solidifies Joe Mixon's status for training camp, saying that he is on track. Now, for those of you that did not know, Joe Mixon was dealing with what Aaron Wilson of KPRC2 Houston described as foot ankle issues, but is expected to be ready for training camp, which opens July 23rd. And this is great news for Texans fans as well as the entire organization. Joe Mixon was an absolute stud last year. He was exactly what we needed in the backfield. He was a spark that kind of put this team in the position that it needed to be. It started off, making some mistakes, not as hot as we wanted, and just making some, second year CJ Stroud not having the best of games, right? But Joe Mixon was able to help win those games, push us over the limit, and his veteran leadership was shown in all those games where he helped solidify and cement those wins, which came up big when you talk about playoff positioning. And so it's great to have him, have him solidified as the top guy in that backfield and have him ready to go on week one. And so it's great to have him there. As many of you know, his stats last year were absolutely amazing. We have 14 games, 245 rushing attempts, 12 touchdowns, 1325 yards. Longest rush last season was 59 yards, 64 first downs, and so things are looking good in terms of that, and we expect him to contribute those things back next season, having spent some time with Cincinnati. Now here, he is continuing to do what he does best, and that is run the football. Now there's this quote from RotoWire saying that Wilson of the Houston channel, Houston 2, said that Wilson noted that there's not cause for concern in terms of the training camp / regular season status of the Texans' top running back, who missed time this offseason but has made strides since then. Once Mixon returns to the practice field, he'll reclaim his role atop a backfield depth chart that also includes Nick Chubb, who the team signed to a one-year contract last month, as well as Dameon Pierce, 2025 fourth-rounder Woody Marks, and Dare Ogunbowale. And so, this is all good news. We have a pretty, stacked, solid running back room. I love the addition of Nick Chubb to this running back room, signing him to that one-year deal to see, kind of fill out how he fits into this organization. Personally, I really, really do like that. He has solidified himself as a guy who can not only be your starter, right? Maybe a few years ago, he was more of a starter type player, but he has solidified himself as a backup running back in the NFL. He can do that very, very well. He offers power, which I think is something that every running back room needs. And so Nick Chubb being on this roster, to me, is a huge dub. Is something that is going to help benefit us when it comes to, rushing in the red zone and getting him past that D line from the opposite team. And so all good news there. I'm excited to see how this running back room, works together and how they do next season. Now, going back to Joe Mixon, there's been a lot of talk about Joe Mixon this offseason. A lot of, I see some fantasy reports talking about him saying, oh, he's up for a bust year. He's not going to have as great as a year, whether that's because of the addition of Nick Chubb or what. I don't know. I completely disagree about that. I completely disagree. Joe Mixon showed no signs of slowing down. Yes, he had an injury, but, all NFL players have those injuries. They work around them. It's football. It's a hard-hitting game. And so I see this, and I'm like, what the heck are we talking about here? This is Joe Mixon, a guy who has been one of the most consistent players last season for the Houston Texans, and so I expect nothing less from a guy of his veteran leadership. But there has been some positive talks about Joe Mixon. ESPN recently gave their top 10 running back ranking, where insider Jeremy Fowler polled from anonymous NFL executives, scouts, and coaches, stacking up the best talents at that position next season. And while the Texans runner Joe Mixon didn't manage to poke his head into the top 5 range, which is very competitive when you consider guys like Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, all those guys, Mixon still found himself as the 9th best running back in the NFL per league personnel, with one executive giving notable praise to his vision, footwork, and balance. And so we're going to take you to that quote right here, saying, quote, Mixon, this is Jeremy Fowler talking, Mixon looked rejuvenated in Houston after the Texans acquired him in a trade with Cincinnati in March 2024. He's not a home run hitter with a career average of 4.1 yards per carry over 8 seasons, but he's got just about everything else. Really good vision, feet, contact, balance, a hammer in the run game, an NFL personnel evaluator said. Looked worn down at the end of the season, but overall, that was a really good trade for Houston. And I could not agree more. And I'm certain that all of you, having watched the Texans last season, know that they did not win some of those games without Joe Mixon. I said this earlier. He was the reason why we kind of pushed past that threshold. There was times where the offensive game just quite wasn't working. C.J. Stroud struggled in his second year, which is very typical for a lot of quarterbacks. Struggle in the NFL is absolutely real, coming from college to the NFL, and at times he needed someone to help bail it out, help push that offense to the next level and put it to where it was supposed to be, and have a more comfortable win, more comfortable lead, whatever that may be. And Joe Mixon was that guy that Stroud was able to rely on, that this team, that head coach DeMeco Ryans was able to rely on. He provided that veteran leadership. He does a lot of things well. By no means is he like a Saquon or Derrick Henry that's going to go out there and give you 200 yards per game. He's not that. He can, but he's not that, right? Joe Mixon he's very fundamental. He does a lot of the little stuff really, really well. And quite frankly, that's all the Texans need. That's what we need, quite frankly, is Joe Mixon to come back and pretty much do what he did last year. Be that guy whenever we need him to be. Yes, at times when you need a break, we're going to put in Nick Chubb. That's why we signed him to that 1-year contract. We're going to put him in, put some extra power in that backfield. But to have Joe Mixon at that top of the depth chart is instrumental in this team having success. In this team, trying to get past that divisional round in the playoffs, which we just seem to not get past. And so that is going to be the first step in accomplishing that goal. There's a lot of other things that this team needs to work on in order to achieve that. There's a lot of good competition in the NFL, especially the AFC, which the Texans have, again, kind of reached the divisional, can't really get past the first round or the wild card is something that we've, has kind of been the norm for us. It's good to win those games, but at the same time, trying to get to the level where we can beat teams like the Chiefs, beat teams like the Ravens, beat teams like the Bills in those crucial playoff games. And so that is what we're building towards, and Joe Mixon is the step in doing so, in making sure that it acquires. Now, we can talk a whole lot of things that needs to improve as well, but that is the first start. This is a good sign. This is great news. I'm excited to see Joe Mixon in action this year 2 or for him here. And you add Chubb to the mix, and I like what I see in the backfield. So we'll give you all the updates as well as training camp and how the cohesion is going between those guys, as well as the offensive line, how C.J. Stroud is doing. All those updates, we're going to give it to you right here on Texans Digest. You guys know what it is. For those of you that are subscribed, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you. Me and Mike appreciate you. For those that are new watching, and if you are a Texans fan, you're watching this video, you've made it this far in the video, that tells me you are a true Texans fan. Go ahead, hit that subscribe button if you want to stay up to date. Now, I am new here. This is my first video on the channel, so I want to do something. I want you guys to ask some questions in the comments. My opinions on anything about the team, anything about the NFL. Go ahead and ask me, so that way I can get to know, or you guys can get to know me a little more. And who the heck am I? Who is this guy talking? I also do Rockets Digest. For those of you that recognize me, glad you're joining us. Houston Unite. But at the same time, go ahead, ask me some questions about the team. I'm happy to give you my opinion on them, as well as I'll make a bunch of videos starting from now on regarding many aspects of the team. So stick around for that. Me and Mike have got you guys covered all off season heading into the regular season. Big things coming your way right here on Texans Digest. I am Donovan Ricondo. I'll see you next time on this channel. Take care.